I now call the November 6, 2025 Senior Citizens Advisory Board meeting to order. Has this meeting been properly noticed and posted in compliance with the Nevada Open Meeting Law?
It has.
Thank you. Would the Deputy City Clerk call the roll, please?
Chair O'Rear Cameron,
Present.
Vice Chair Graham, excused. Member Galati,
Present.
Member Mosdeen,
Present.
Member Drum,
Present.
Member Lee, Member Tilzer, excused. Member Young. You have a quorum.
Thank you, Deputy City Clerk. Item number 3, public comment. Comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters on the agenda for action. If you wish to be heard, come forward and give your name for the record. The amount of discussion, as well as the amount of time any single speaker is allowed, may be limited. Seeing and hearing none. Item number 4, for possible action to approve the final minutes by reference of the regular meeting of October 2nd, 2025. Do we have any changes or a motion to approve?
Member Drum, I motion to approve.
So we have a motion to approve the final minutes of the regular meeting of October 2nd, 2025. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Item number 5, presentation by Antoinette Braddock, Senior Director of Paratransit and Specialized Services, Regional Transportation Commission of Southern Nevada regarding transportation services and programs for seniors, all wards. As you sit, if you could just state your name for the record, please. Thank you.
Absolutely. Good afternoon. For the record, my name is Antoinette Braddock. I am the Senior Director of Paratransit and Specialized Service for the RTC, or Regional Transportation Commission of Southern Nevada. And so this afternoon, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about the services that we provide at the RTC. Certainly, it will not be all-inclusive, and I look forward to questions or comments after I share with you what we do. So, at the RTC, we are the Regional Transportation Commission that oversees all of the transportation in Southern Nevada. And so what that looks like is we have our fixed route service, or the city bus, depending on what you call it, the really big buses that kind of shoot up and down the road every day. And part of that is also a comparable service for our paratransit customers. So when we think about paratransit customers, it's not specific to age or visual disability. It's just anybody who, and I'll talk to you a little bit about how people become certified, but anybody who would be eligible for a paratransit service, which is basically anybody who can't access our fixed route or our transit services. And then in addition to our fixed route and our paratransit, we also provide several senior transportation services, which is specifically for seniors throughout the Las Vegas Valley. So first of all, I'll tell you a little bit about our paratransit. So paratransit is a service that individuals must be eligible for. So what that means is that they would contact our certification department, and they would get an application, they would fill out an application, which would then at some point determine whether or not an individual is eligible. And again, it's not age related, it is really just based off of a person's ability to access our fixed route service. So it could be a senior, it could be a teenager, and everything in between. We certify based off of medical condition, although we are not doctors, so we don't make medical determinations. We really just look to see whether or not they can actually access the fixed route service. And once someone is paratransit eligible, then they can use our paratransit service throughout the valley. We have a service area. Our service area really, it kind of expands, so it encompasses most of Las Vegas, meaning the city of Las Vegas, but it spans from Henderson all the way up to the northern part of the valley where like the VA hospital is, and then east and west. So think not quite to the wetlands on the east side, and almost in parts of Summerlin up to the west side. And it is a 24-hour service. We provide it 7 days a week, including holidays, so we do not shut down. We provide paratransit service for everything, so we don't ask trip purpose. So someone's medical trip is just as important as someone going to the library. We do not deny service, so any paratransit eligible customer that is calling our office to reserve a ride, they will not be denied service. So no denials at all. Customers do have to book up to 1 day in advance, so it is not a same day service. So they can book as far as 3 days in advance, but up to 1 day in advance. We have a lot of technology options, mobile apps, all of that kind of good stuff for folks if they are technical, but we also have a regular call center where folks can call in to book their ride. The call center is a local call center, so when folks call in, they are going to get folks here in Las Vegas. Actually, the staff is under my purview as well, so they are Nevadans, they are Las Vegans or Hendersons or whatever, but they live in the valley, and so they're answering calls real time. That's kind of the long and short about the paratransit service. I'm sure it kind of sparks some questions that you might have for me after, but let me tell you a little bit about some of our senior services as well, which I think you guys are very much interested in. So in addition to paratransit service, we also offer 13 what we call Silver Star routes, and they're kind of scattered throughout the Las Vegas Valley. And what those are, they are loop-based services, so we build them around senior communities. Most of the time, the senior communities are low income, where they're apartments or different kind of residents, maybe, I am blanking, the like trailer parks, things like that, where the seniors are kind of condensed into a community and really, from an income perspective, can certainly use the type of service that we provide. So most of the services run 2 days a week, and they are time-based, which means that every single day that they operate, they stop and drop or pick up at the same locations at the same time on the days that they provide service. And so in addition to going to senior communities, they also go to grocery stores, pharmacies, things like that. So essential places where some of our seniors need to go. And it is a 50-cent fee. Some of the routes are actually, we have a grant through the Aging and Disability Services, so ADSD, and in that case, it is donation. We don't collect a fare, but with these services, there's no haggling on fare. If the senior doesn't have the 50 cents, we're not asking for it. Sometimes folks will put in $5 because they feel like contributing that much, and sometimes folks, they don't have the fee, and so it's really a non-issue. Yeah, so there are 13 throughout the valley, and they operate 2 days a week, and it's generally about an 8 to 10 hour operation time frame. So from the morning to late afternoon. So folks can, whether you're early riser or not, you can still get to the grocery store as you need to. And then in addition to the Silver Star, we also work with what we call non-dedicated service providers, and these are kind of new to Las Vegas, and they're actually new to the transit industry. So we work with two companies, and they're kind of, if you think about like Uber and Lyft, so a transportation network company, we work with two companies that are similar to the Uber or Lyft, but they're a little bit, they're more heavily, so from a drug and alcohol background check, the vetting is just a little, it's a little bit more than Lyft or Uber. And the companies are called UServe and Silver Ride. And so we also provide these services for our customers. These are more same day or direct rides rather than the paratransit shared or maybe not direct ride. And that is really a very high level of my presentation, I feel like you may have more questions and want to get a little bit deeper about things that are important to you, and I'm happy to answer those questions if you have them.
Deanna Rear Cameron, the first one I have comes from one of them who could not be here today, David Tilzer. And he's in Sun City, Summerlin, but he was on the website, I guess, looking at the Silver Rides program. And that helps me to understand more, too, that is more like Uber. So to explain what he was asking, he said if he read it correctly on the website, that it could cost $70 to $90 for a 3-mile ride to and from a medical appointment. And he wanted to clarify if that could be correct.
Okay, so if he is looking on Silver Ride's website, I can't really speak to what their pricing is, but as it relates to the partnership with the RTC, so Silver Ride is, it's a supplemental provider of our paratransit. So our paratransit buses, and I didn't speak to this, but the cost for paratransit bus is $3 per ride. And that doesn't, it's not a consideration of time, miles, it's a flat $3. And so if a customer is getting a Silver ride with the RTC, then it would be $3. So they would have to book their ride through the RTC. They would also have to opt in to participate in that non-dedicated service, which is the Silver Ride. And if they're booking through either the RTC's website, or excuse me, our mobile app, or calling our call center, then it's $3. If they book directly with Silver Ride, the cost may be different, but through paratransit or through the RTC, it's the $3, and we subsidize the rest.
Deanna Rear Cameron, by any chance, do you have the call center number with you? Just so we can get it on the record, just in case.
I do, and I also provide, I brought some brochures, so let me
perfect.
just read it for you, but, and you can have
'Cause we run into the fact that not a lot of them use the app in our situation.
Absolutely.
Yeah, see, they're already laughing up here with me. We get that a lot. And then the other question that I personally have is, I know one of the biggest things that I hear from most of the older adults is that when they're using the paratransit, trying to get to the medical when there's all these other stops before them. So how do you circumvent them being potentially late for a medical appointment versus someone going to the grocery?
Yes, that's a great question. So it's a little bit of education on how to, first of all, education on how the service works, because we are public transit, and so that means it is shared ride. And we operate based off of, let me say, our guiding principles are based off of federal law. So there are specific things federally. So our governing body is the FTA, so the Federal Transit Administration, and ADA for paratransit rights. So Americans with Disability is really important to us. And because we're public transit, as I said before, we can't prioritize one trip over the other, because from an ADA perspective, everybody's transportation and whatever, whether you want to go to church and I want to go to the library, or you want to go have dinner with, the golf guys, it's all important from an ADA perspective. So when it comes to medical appointments, it's important to really just learn how to book those rides. So I always say that if you have an appointment and you're booking, you want to let the agent that you're talking to know that I have an appointment at X amount of time. I always also suggest that you buffer in some time, because we don't want to get to the door of our appointment right at the time of our appointment. So give yourself another 20 to 30 minutes. If it's a decent walk or you've got to go up elevators, think about some extra time. And so if you're booking your ride with some extra time, so if my appointment's at 8:30, maybe I want to book my appointment to arrive at 8 o'clock rather than 8:30. And so I think a little bit of education helps, and just understanding that it's public transit, it is shared ride, and so we need to, kind of think about how we're booking those rides, because, again, we can't prioritize one thing over the other.
Yeah, Charles Lee, Ward 5. Do you have a window for pickup? And once the transit arrives, what is the waiting time that, they'll wait on you?
Yeah, thank you. Great question. So we have what's called a 30-minute window, and it is you've got 25 minutes on one side and 5 minutes on the other. So if we say, and actually we don't ever tell you that your bus is going to arrive at 8 o'clock. We give you the 30-minute window. So we say your bus will be there between 7:40 and 8:15. And so the customer's responsibility is to be ready within that window, because there is a window and we can pick you up a little bit early, 20 minutes early or 25 minutes early, and then 5 minutes after the fact. So we give you that window, and the individual should always be ready to board the bus, whether it is standing outside or looking out the window, within that window of time. And when the driver gets there, they will wait 5 minutes. So what they also do is there is a responsibility. So if you were not there, that would be considered a no-show. And our drivers are trained to call our dispatch office to make sure it's okay to leave. So what we then check, so our dispatchers, is we have really great technology on the bus, and so we can actually track where the bus is. So maybe, like if we think of this building, right, it's a huge building, there's a lot going on, and you asked to be picked up at building A, but the driver for some reason was on the opposite side at like building D. And the dispatcher would say, actually, I see you're in the wrong location. Let's get you to where you need to go so you can pick up the customer. Or, yeah, you're in fact in the right location. Customer still isn't there. Go ahead and leave. And so that's the process.
I have a question. Is there what means of communication do you use? Telephone, in other words, if there's some problems or questions, do you require the person to be waiting at the door?
Also, great question. So our service is what we call a door-to-door service. So they our drivers, if it's your home at your residence, as an example, assuming you're not on a floor, second, third floor, the driver will come to your door. They'll knock on your door, offer a hand if you want one. What we do not do is we do not do door through door. So a driver will never come into your home, but they also could not come into a building such as this one. So if you're in a building, or an apartment complex, you'll need to come to an area where the driver can see you and help retrieve you and get you into the bus. So they would knock on your door. You would not get a call. We don't call customers when we're there, when we're arriving. Just for some context on the paratransit system, there are more than 20,000 individuals throughout the valley that are eligible for paratransit service, and we have between 10 and 12,000 people who actively ride, and on a weekdays such as today, we're providing about 6,000 rides a day. So it would be hard to call every single individual to say that your ride is here, but we do use technology, and I'll kind of share some of those with you. So we have technology where on your smartphone you can receive a text that tells you like your bus is on its way, it's ETA, it's going to be there in 5 or 10 minutes. And our app is really good for that. Even if you don't want to book your rides on our app, maybe you prefer to call in, it's a good tool to have to get notifications or just kind of check out when your bus is there. And you can even cancel your rides on the app, which I think is really good for people who have health problems, right? You're not really feeling great today and you're not going to travel, so it's a really easy way to cancel your rides. But it's a great way to receive notifications. And we have a piece of technology that will call the night before so it's not a real person, but it is technology that will call with a reminder of your rides. So those are a few pieces of technology for reminders.
Jennifer Drum, Ward 3. Question, so if you have a caregiver, can the caregiver ride on the paratransit with you, or are you supposed to go alone?
No, absolutely great question. So we call our caregivers personal care assistants, and when a customer is receiving eligibility and or so you can also, maybe you've been a customer for a while and you didn't need a helping hand, but maybe now you do. You can call back to the our eligibility office and add a personal care attendant to your record. And so yes, a personal care attendant can travel for free with our customers. Companions can also travel, but they have to pay the same $3. So if you're taking your husband and maybe you have a hired personal care attendant or a family member, we don't really question who the helper is. But yes, so you can travel with one personal care attendant and up to 2 companions. Companions pay, personal care attendants are free.
Linda Young. Um, I've worked with the special need children in the school district for a lot of years. And for some, they've had special need dogs. For example, in our sighted program or our hearing impaired program, they've had sometimes animals that were a part of their care. And particularly for some of my students who have severe physical issues, and sometimes with parents or elderly or seniors, that may occur as well. Do you allow for special need animals to?
Thank you. We absolutely do. So we allow for service animals. And again, the service animals, we just like when they're calling for them to let us know that they'll be traveling with a service animal. We also, and you may or may not know this, but customers can actually travel with more than one service animal if they are in fact service animals, because service animals provide service. And some of our customers, they need multiple services, right? You may be sight impaired and need one dog is your seeing eye dog, and maybe you have diabetes and the other dog senses your diabetes. But yep, as long as they know, or as long as they let us know that they're going to be traveling with their service animal, we absolutely accept service animals on our service. The rules are that the service animal, and this is consistent with ADA and the federal law, that service animals cannot take up a seat. They have to sit in between your legs, and certainly they have to be service animals. We don't get into a ton of asking on the bus, so the drivers wouldn't ask a bunch of questions, which is against the law. But those conversations would happen during our certification and eligibility process. We also, just for note, as we're talking about animals, sometimes, right, if paratransit is your primary transportation, where you get everywhere, if you have animals, cats that need to go to the vet and get their shots, as long as they're in like a carrier and they fit not on a seat, they can't have a seat but fit under the seat, then if you need to take your animal to the vet or something like that, they can also be transported.
Follow-up question. If a senior has what they call scheduled visits or scheduled what I call meetings with maybe a doctor or some healthcare provider, I understand it's $3 a visit or a round trip. Is that round trip $3?
It's $3 per ride, so it would be $6.
Okay, so it's round trip is $6. And if there's a scheduled, let's say every week, would the senior be able to pay in advance and say, I'm paying for the whole month? Or do you have to just pay each time you have a scheduled travel?
Great question. So I'm going to talk about 2 things about schedule because it actually brings something else that I'll share with you. But as it relates to payment, we, under the current technology that we're using, we have a couple different options. So customers can pay with cash every single time. They can buy coupons. And sometimes we see folks will buy coupons for individuals at like organizations like Opportunity Village who may have some cognitive, and you don't want to have to handle cash or keep track of cash. Maybe it's not safe or it might get lost. So we have coupons that can also be used. And then we have monthly passes that can be purchased. And so we have a 46 ride or a 22 ride pass. And it's important when purchasing those passes to understand what your travel is going to be like, because it's kind of if you don't use it, you lose it. They don't roll over. So it's especially important to make sure you're not buying a pass more than what you're actually going to use. And so we are actually looking at some technology that we will be changing over to at the beginning of next year, where we will make it more convenient, kind of to your point, where you can actually put money on an account. And so you don't have to worry about it. It will just be on your account. You can either come in and pay with cash and they'll load your account, or you could pay via credit card on our website, or you could come in person and do it. And then your money's loaded. And so that you don't have to worry about the payment and all that stuff going forward. So that will be in early first quarter of 26. So we're really excited about that for our customers.
Peter Galati, Ward 2, most probably it's in the works, but do you have an app? I know you have an app, but do you have an app that would handle that part of the...
Yes, great question. So when we launch the new technology next year, there will be a brand new app, and it will accommodate for that. Yeah, the technology is going to be, we're really excited about it. It'll be a lot of really great customer-facing options for our customers, for caregivers, and even some of the agency partners that we work with. And if I can, I just want to talk a little bit more about schedules, because I have another item that I'll share with you. So certainly, if you use paratransit and this is your mean of transportation, people go to work, they go to school. We have customers who go to dialysis 3 days a week. And so to make it as customer centric and easy as we can, if you're going to a place at the same time on the same days week after week, we do what's called a subscription. So you call into our office and you say, like, I'd like to set up a subscription to go to school or to go to dialysis. And so it means that you now don't have to call in for those appointments week after week, and you get the same time every single time you go to those appointments. So if you go to dialysis and you've got to be there by 7 a.m. On Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, now it's one less thing you have to manage in your life. You don't have to call in. You just know that your bus is coming, and you don't have to do the scheduling.
Deanna Rear Cameron, and on that note of the app, I know you have one now, more technology coming. Is that a part of the training during certification?
It is, thank you. So it's actually something we added within the last year and a half. So when a customer comes in and is getting certified, honestly, so one of the things I didn't say is customers don't necessarily receive whether they're eligible at that appointment. We have 21 days to make the determination. Oftentimes we can give them the determination really quickly. Sometimes it takes another visit. But during the certification process, we take every customer and we go through an onboarding process. So we tell them about all of the services that we provide. We show them how to use our mobile app. We talk about the non-dedicated service providers, get them opted in. We don't force customers to use the non-dedicated service providers. We allow them to make that choice themselves. So we tell them how the service works, who they are, why it might make sense, and let them opt in. But absolutely, we do a full onboarding. And because we only started that a couple years ago, We also do a lot of outreach events where we will go to dialysis clinics, we go to senior centers, we go to we work with CCSD with students, and we teach them about all of our services. So not just the paratransit, not just the senior transportation, but also about our fixed route service or our city bus, because again, paratransit, you have to book in advance. With the city bus, you can jump on and go wherever you need to. So we like to teach people about all of our services so that there's a level of independence and so you're comfortable and you feel safe in using all of our services. But we do have staff members that come out and will provide those presentations and share what we do.
Deanna Rear Cameron, thank you. You just answered my two subsequent questions because I was going to ask about events. I tend to be involved in a lot of events, so that's good to know. I will definitely be in touch for some events, especially when your new tech comes out too. And thank you for bringing up that they can just hop on a bus, because I did see that in the brochure about the mobility training. I think that's very important. So if people do not like using and utilizing paratransit because they are going around with other people on the same bus and it's a little different, and if that's an issue for them, I like that you have that option where they can be trained on it. And I know I'm not sure if you encourage this in your certification. I know for all of us on the board, it's a really great idea to encourage the seniors to include any prep time they need. And also, like you had mentioned, when they're calling, to think about, the amount of time their doctor's office says they should be there before, because I think sometimes we all forget that. A lot of times they want you to check in a half an hour before, sometimes an hour, depending on what you're having done or being looked at. So do you maybe go through a little bit of that certification too, as far as, encouraging them to be prepped and ready and whatever they need to do to get out the door and make sure that they're there on time?
Yeah, we definitely do. And we understand that it's everyday education, right? So it's always just little reminders. So whether it's happening in our reservations, when you're calling to book a ride, or during eligibility, or even some of the outreach events that we do for all of our folks, but certainly our seniors. We have an outreach event called, it's called Seniors on the Go. You may be familiar with it. We go to senior centers, so we partner with senior centers throughout the valley where our mobility training team will come and they talk to the seniors about how to use our fixed route transit. As you know, this valley, right, we are very car centric. So using public transit might not be intuitive for folks that have lived here forever, right? If you've come from other places, you may be familiar with public transit. But if you grew up here, we all drive cars. So learning about public transit, how to ride it, and it's kind of a community-based training. So it's they train with their peers, with their friends, and they're encouraged to ride together so that they can, have a buddy. And so it seems a little less scary. And we have a great team that do these trainings, and they talk about all of the things related to the senior transportation. And a couple things that are important, certainly for the folks that you serve, are using public transit. So paratransit, $3 or $6 for a round trip, that's expensive. That for folks who are on a limited income, that can be very costly. And so on our fixed route service, we do offer two things. So if you're a paratransit customer, you can ride our fixed route or city bus for free. And if you are a senior and not a paratransit rider, you get a reduced fare. So the cost of a one-way ride on our city bus is $2, so it would be $1 to the senior. So there's also some kind of thoughtfulness if it comes to economics for our seniors as well to share. So they don't feel like they can't afford paratransit, so they can't get to where they need to go. There's other options.
Deanna
Yes,
Rear Cameron, I just wanted to make sure and state this for the record before we go further. The telephone number on the brochure for anyone who might be listening to the recording later is 702-676-1815, and that would be for the certification process. And then from then, if they are certified, I'm assuming then they get the call center info. We wouldn't want to put out call center. That would be putting the cart before the horse.
Absolutely, and yeah, they'll get a whole wealth of information
Wonderful.
upon certification.
Wonderful.
Peter Galati, Ward 2. Perhaps I missed it, but is this only for medical or it could be for any reason?
Great question. So for paratransit, it's for anything. Library, grocery store, dialysis, whatever, wherever you need to go.
Even to go to the airport?
Absolutely, yes. So we have a service area, and so this is important also. So the service area, where it's very large, our service area is just under 400 square miles. So it's pretty big. Think of like it goes into Boulder City in some places, it goes up to the VA hospital. So it's pretty expansive, but it certainly doesn't cover everywhere. But if where you need to go is within our service area, it will take you, if you want to go visit friends at another residence, really wherever you need to go. We do not ask trip purpose.
24/7.
24/7, 7 days a week, holidays included. Yeah, yeah. All of our buses are accessible, which I think is important. So if you are in a wheelchair, a scooter, you use a walker, they're accessible and safe. So also wanted to note that. Apologize.
Okay, Charles Lee, what's the time frame to cancel a ride, and what happens if you are no-show for a ride?
Great question. So we have, this question's a little, so we would prefer that you cancel your ride at least 24 hours in advance. That's not always doable, right? But we do a point system with customers, and first of all, our desire is never to kick anybody off of paratransit. We don't want to do it because it's an essential transportation, and people ride it because they need it, right? Not because you have a car, or you ride it because it's important to you, to your living and well-being. But to keep folks kind of honest, if you will, we do a point system. And so if you cancel 24 hours in advance to 10 hours in advance, there's no points. If you cancel, like if it gets closer to the ride time, you cancel at the door, you're a no-show, then you accrue points, and then you'll get a letter to let you know, like, all right, you're getting close to your points. Please try to cancel in advance. And if it's habitual, really we will call the customer and try to work with the customer to figure out a solution. Unless it's really habitual, then our policy is that we could remove you from the service. I've never done that in the time that I have overseen this service, but it's just to hold people accountable.
May I ask a question, please? How do we get, if we just raise our hands, or how do we do that? Okay, I didn't want to jump ahead of you. Okay. So my question is, I have two. If you need to get to the airport, you said that the paratransit people can come pick you up, and if you make reservations for maybe have them make reservations for a wheelchair or some assistance once they get to the airport, is that the responsibility of the person that is taking the transportation to then let the airport know that you're coming through on a paratransit, but you also need wheelchair?
Great question. So paratransit responsibility is to get you to the airport safely.
Right.
And it is the customer's responsibility to do everything else.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you're in a wheelchair already, we'll get you secured on our bus, nice and safe. Notable about about airport travel is our drivers are drivers, and their job is to make sure that that they help you get to the bus safely, that they get you buckled in or secured your mobility device safely and to drive safely. Their job is not to carry groceries, carry luggage. So certainly if you're traveling and, you know, you got a lot of luggage, right? If you're going somewhere good and you got a good trip, so you got a lot of luggage. I do anyway. You're going to want to think about that and make sure that you have either someone to help you or account for that at the airport for someone to come out and help you. Or if you need a wheelchair, then that you do that with the airport. And it takes you, paratransit will take you to the lower level. It's called the 0 level of the airport, which is also important to note. It's not specifically going to take you, like if we took an Uber or a Lyft or someone dropped us off, right, they're going to take us to Southwest or United. That's not how the paratransit buses can't get in there, so they take you to, and the airport is very particular on where buses go for safety and security reasons, so we go to a place called the 0 level, and so that's important to know. But when people don't travel a lot, so I would always say if you're traveling to the airport, talk to the reservation-ist while you're doing, like, ask your questions, because it's not something, I mean, maybe some people do travel a lot, but not always, right? You're not always taking, and so you might forget those things. So it's good to ask the folks on the phone, like, hey, remind me, what do I need to do or what's allowable? But the driver is not supposed to do luggage. I will say our drivers love what they do, and most of them are above and beyond helpful, and so they will help. But then there's other ones who are rule followers, right? And they do exactly what the rules are. And it's not that they're not kind or considerate. It's just like, this is the rules and this is how they've been trained. So sometimes we do hear like, oh, you know, you didn't carry my case of water. And we're like, well, they're not supposed to. Well, the last one, they did it for me. And really they're not supposed to. We want them to get the bus where it's going safe and all that kind of good stuff. I will follow up with the point system because I actually don't know it on the top of my head, and I don't want to get it wrong. But I'd be happy to follow up with some of that information, so you'll know that.
And just a looking forward question with. Oh,
Caroline Mohestein, Ward 6. Just a couple quick things. First of all, thank you for your presentation. I happened to be at a doctor's office where the paratransit arrived, and unfortunately, getting to the doctor's office you can always build in. Great to build in time, but coming out of the doctor's appointment, this poor fella was seriously delayed, and they just couldn't wait, and it's understandable that they couldn't wait. What would be the next step for a person like that that's in that situation?
Yeah, that's a great question because it is sometimes at the doctor's office, they're running hours behind, right? And it's hard, even when you account for an extra hour on top of where you are, it's not always possible. So our policy is also, we do not leave customers stranded. Whether it is you missed your ride, you didn't have fare, whatever it is. So what that individual should do would be to call customer service and just say, like, listen, I missed my ride. And then we will work in a bus to come and get that person. Now, it might not be in 5 minutes, right? There may be a little bit of wait time because they're going to have to squeeze them into a ride. But we never leave customers stranded. And so
Well, that's excellent to know. As it turned out, I just drove the person. It was like, okay, I don't know where he's going to go, so let me just take him, because we didn't have that figured out at that time. So thank you for letting me know that that's would be a part of the procedure.
thank you for
Next
your
question I
kindness.
have is, as all of us have, we have some people who are clearly paratransit required, and others who are not. What about those people that they still can't take the regular public RTC transportation, but for a short term. This happened actually to me as well, and I've had it. People said to me, "How the heck did you get to the PT?" And with a brace on my leg, I go, I asked a lot of friends. So, generally speaking, there are people who just need something for a short time. What suggestion would you make for those?
Yeah, that's also a great question. So we do certification like permanently, right? So think about folks that may have dementia or who are on dialysis. Those are conditions that are likely not going to get better, right? So that's a permanent paratransit customers. But we also know that life happens, right? You fall down the stairs, you need a hip replacement, a knee replacement, and you drive, you take public transit normally, and you're good at it, and that works for you. But right now, it doesn't work because you can't drive or you can't walk to the bus stop. So we also do temporary paratransit certification. And so you just do the same thing. You call in and say, listen, I've got to get this hip surgery, and I'm going to have physical therapy. And so it would be temporary paratransit eligibility. We do that with a lot of cancer centers as well, right? So we have some customers that, because of their treatment, they just need paratransit for hopefully a short amount of time, maybe
That's
a year.
excellent to know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And
Appreciate
so,
that.
yeah,
All
absolutely.
right. And then from a question that I had from someone in our area was a few years ago, the ID cards, the senior cards, were available on site at a presentation. That's presentations are, when they're available. What would be the procedure to get a senior card, and what if it's lost? Somebody said, "Oh, I had one, but I don't know." Is there a record? Do they just apply for a new one? What would be the procedure for that?
Great question. So I think what you're referring to is the reduced fare, maybe.
That's correct.
And so we've actually rolled out recently, within like maybe the last year or two, a couple of options. So they can call in, and their picture on their senior ID should still be on file. So they could ask for it to be printed and mailed. They could come in to our administrative building, which is right down on Grand Central Parkway here, and they can ask for it to be reprinted there. And then there is, and this one I'll follow up with the committee because I don't know all the specifics verbatim, but we have a new online process where folks can actually go and they can actually put in documents to even apply for reduced fare. So, and you can probably get your card reprinted, but I can come back and share or follow up and share the details on that, on what the process is, because it's new and it's really helpful for a lot of folks.
That is definitely true. And my last point is your presentation is so excellent, and perhaps I've noticed, and I know Deanne has as well, when we go to First Tuesday, where the police are, they have a number of presentations, but your presentation or a portion of your presentation would certainly augment theirs as well, because we do see a lot of seniors go there, and they're not necessarily in senior centers. So if we can keep that in mind, maybe some First Tuesday you might be available, or someone from your staff might be available. But thank you again.
Thank you. And just to comment on that, we love to get in front of the community, and so whether it's going to senior centers or going to 2 weeks ago, it was a disability awareness kind of big conference where we'll go out and have a table, and we'll just be there to answer questions or to speak. So if you invite us, we will do our best to come.
Actually, my questions were answered. I just want to add a little comment. Observation is that with stricter guidelines that are occurring for licenses for seniors, it might be something very interesting, because obviously there'll be more business, or at least more demand for that. But I'm seeing the service is going to be beneficial. It's just making them aware, because it will be wanted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Deanna Rear Cameron, We have taken up so much of your time, and we are so thankful and grateful. I have one last question, and then we can wrap it up to get to the rest of our meeting, because the room may be in use after us. And that is, this may be a question we need to address after, and you can please tell me that. But I know there are some things in Sun City. I don't believe you go into Sun City Summerlin, which is my word and also David's word, who couldn't be here today.
So there are like slightly in, but not all the way in. And I believe in full transparency, and I like to just be very candid. So right now, we are not looking at any kind of expansion of services. Actually, as probably the state of Nevada, as well as other entities, we're seeing some tightening in budgets and some shortfalls in places, and unfortunately the RTC is no different. So at this current time, unfortunately, there is not an opportunity to expand service, and potentially there could be some service cuts in the future depending on funding. But right now today, there's only kind of pieces of that area where our service goes, and the same thing in Henderson. It doesn't go all the way up into Sunset City Anthem either. But we do have our FDR service, so it's flexible demand response. That is for seniors. That's in Summerlin. It is also in Anthem, and then Centennial Hills. So we have 3, and those are in some of those smaller senior pockets in those 3 areas.
Deanna Rear Cameron, for the record, thank you so very much. I have definitely been wanting to get you here, and I'm so glad that we did, and we greatly appreciate. I know I speak for myself and the board and also my city liaison, because our top 2 areas that we get all the time are housing and transportation. This has been very informative, and I encourage all of us to listen to it again on our YouTube channel so that we can remember all these details to assimilate them. And I will 100% be in touch so that we can do some events at these first Tuesdays, and also events out in the community. Thank you so much for all of the time you spent today. We appreciate you.
Thank you all, and we look forward to be invited back.
Yeah, we'll need updates when the new apps and all the funding that we believe won't go away. We'll find a way.
We'll look forward to that.
Yeah. Item number 6, report by Gregory Gray, Management Analyst 1, regarding senior issues received by the Department of Neighborhood Services, all wards.
Good afternoon, Gregory Gray for the record. I do not have anything to report at this time.
Thank you. Item number 7, report by board members regarding senior issues and events within their council and wards and at large, all wards. And as we did with the last meeting with our housing speaker, we've had so much great information. I'd like it if everyone can only do their priority portion of the report related to seniors, or if you did not have a lot, you can also forego it into the next one. Thank you. And first off, we have Ward 2, Vito.
I have nothing to report. Thank you.
Ward 3, we have Jennifer.
Just quickly, on Friday, November 21st, from noon to 2 will be the senior luncheon for Ward 3. And people can call to make a reservation at 702-229-1515. Thank you.
Thank you. Ward 4 is myself. I'll just say that I went to several different events, and they were all wonderful, 2 of which were Metro related, and I did get to speak with several officers about some things that are going, and I am working on those. And now we have Ward 5, Charles.
Hi, Charles Lee, Ward 5. The only thing I have, just like to make mention of this open Medicare enrollment, and we need to remind seniors to be aware of scams. And that's all I have.
Thank you, and can I put an emphatic yes? And next we have Ward 5, Linda.
Thank you. I have nothing to report at this time. Hope to have something reported at the next meeting.
And next we have Ward 6, Caroline.
Caroline Mosdeen, Ward 6, and I have nothing to report at this time.
Okay. Wow, we did that fast. I think we're all overwhelmed with RTC information. I love it. Item number 8, discussion regarding next steps and future meeting topics of the Senior Citizens Advisory Board, all wards. I know if there's any new items to go to it, we have been slowly getting through our list with the speakers. Does anybody have any other discussion topics? Okay. Item number 9, citizens' participation. Public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters within the jurisdiction of the board. No subject may be acted upon by the board unless that subject is on the agenda and is scheduled for action. If you wish to be heard, come forward and give your name for the record. The amount of discussion on any single subject, as well as the amount of time any single speaker is allowed, may be limited. Seeing and hearing none, our next Senior Citizens Advisory Board meeting is Thursday, December 4th at 1 p.m. right here in the same public meeting room of the Civic Center. We are now adjourned.